Hey there. I am going to spend some time going over some of the features of Zoom that I haven't already covered. I'm going to talk about things that you can do to make your performance on Zoom like a rock star. All right, and it's super simple things that you can do that'll really change the way that kids perceive you as you're Zooming. Or whoever you're Zooming with. So the first thing is taking the chat that you have and popping it out on your screen so that it stays open, so that you can see the chat at all times. You can separate it from your actual screen. So I'm going to share, I can't share that. So I've taken a screenshot and I'm going to show you with that. Look at that crazy picture I've got. Okay, so if you want to pop out your chat so that it will stay open, you click the chat button at the bottom on your bar at the bottom. And by that, I mean, I should probably share that one first. Here at the bottom, you'll see that you've got all these different selections that you could click on. And they're all right on that bar. And right here, chat, you can click on that. And if you click on chat, then this will pop up. Actually, that's the participants one. Chat will, if you click chat, this will open. And you've got a little down arrow. If you click the down arrow, one of your options is pop out chat. If you click pop out chat, it'll just make the box a small square that will jump off to the side. You can do the same thing with participants. Down arrow, pop out participants, and it'll, again, pop it out to the side. So if you're using a waiting room, you could see who was there and in the waiting room. And so I would just slide those off to the side. I do work with 2 monitors, and what I do is I slide my chat off to one side, and then I slide my participants off to one side if I don't have a co-host that can manage the participants for me. That way I can see everything. So that is one thing to do. Pop out your chat, pop out your participants. You can also pop out your backgrounds. Now, if you're using backgrounds, I don't have a green screen up right now. That's why my hands are disappearing. If you have an actual green screen, you'll have better luck with pieces of your body not disappearing when you're doing that. So that's one of the benefits. But you can do the same pop out with the background. So let me share my screen again and show you the screen that would allow that. Now, so at the bottom, you can see here now from my screenshot that there is your bar at the bottom. This is what we're looking for to pop out, to change your backgrounds, as well as to pop out the backgrounds. So you would click on that little arrow, and if you click on that little arrow, then you would get this box. And if you get that box, this is where you would add your virtual backgrounds, but there's no reason that after you've chosen your background that you have to click on that red button and close it out. Everybody does that because you want to close things up and, you know, keep your desk neat. However, you can leave this open. You don't have to hit a pop out like you do with the chat and the participants. This one, you just grab it and leave it off to the side and don't close it. Why would you want to do that? Well, if you have turned images into backgrounds, you've done a PowerPoint presentation or a Keynote presentation or Google Slides presentation, and you've turned your slides into images and loaded them as your backgrounds, then you would want to keep this screen open so that you can quickly change between your backgrounds. It makes it very fluid, and I will stop my share right now and show you how I am able to do that. I've got mine open currently, and I can just click from one thing to the next. If I have a presentation that I want to go from one slide to the next, then I can fairly seamlessly do that and make it happen very easily. Okay, so that's why you would want to keep that open. If you are turning a slide presentation into a background image that you will use on Zoom, and look at how much nicer this interaction is. You are much more real when I am doing this kind of an interaction than when I am doing a share screen and you have to split your attention between a little box in the corner and my image or my presentation. So it's something to definitely consider. Super easy to do that. I'm not going to explain how to turn your images in. That's another video on YouTube in the same PD with Amy playlist that you can watch. It's only a few minutes long. So the other thing to consider is whether to do green screen or no green screen. It's a personal preference. So right now I'm not using a green screen because quite frankly, I have to hang it up and it blocks the airflow in my room that I use, and it's super hot. And you can see that if you've got a new enough computer, you don't necessarily have to, but my hands do disappear and I do lose some of it when I'm doing this. One of the things that I like to do when I'm teaching is that I like to have a word wall behind me. If I do this without a green screen, it's almost impossible to point to the words. So I have a green screen that I hang behind me and I use it. You know, you can do it very inexpensively. You can get a tablecloth from the dollar store. You can get a piece of poster board and hang it on your wall. You can use a piece of fabric that you get, you know, and it doesn't all have to be green. You have the option once you choose green screen on that virtual background slide, you can choose the color of your screen. So if it's slightly different, you can match them up and it will work. I'm going to share my screen again just to show you where that happens. And that is, right here. Okay, so on this screen, you'll see at the bottom, I have a green screen. So if you're using a green screen, you would check it off. And you can see here, it says manually pick the color of the background. The detected color is this. So it detects a color for you, but if you need to manually do it, you can manually change the color, but it's pretty good at detecting for you. Now, the other thing is mirror my video or don't mirror my video. All right, here's the thing. This is also a matter of preference, but I choose to mirror my video. What does that mean? That means that when I am looking at myself on screen, I am seeing whatever I see backwards. That means these words, as I'm looking at them, are all backwards. So I'm reading backwards. Do you prefer to read backwards or do you prefer to point opposite? If I don't mirror, I'm looking at the words forward, how we would normally see them, but I have to point at the opposite direction. It's kind of like the way the weathermen do it. I think it's easier to point at the backwards because it's exactly where it is in my head. If I point to my left, then I point to the left of the screen, okay? If I don't mirror, I have to point to the left to get the words on the right. And my brain just doesn't like that. And it'll depend on how your brain works. Some people think it's easier not to mirror. So what do you have to do? You have to try it out. Same thing with the green screen. Try it out without a green screen. See how you feel about it. But I will share my screen and I'll show you that you do the same thing. You choose it here. Mirror my video. You're gonna see it backwards. The people watching you will not see it backwards. It'll be fine for them. Click, do not check off mirror my video. You will see it forward, they will see it forward. Check off mirror, they will see it forward, you will see it backward. Okay, so couple other tips to go through quickly. Don't get caught up in the administrative hoo-ha while you've only got kids for a certain period of time. Use your chat box. Have them sign in the chat, first and last name, to get credit for attending class. Boom, boom, boom. You know, you can do that as a brain break in the middle of the class. You can do it however you want to do it, before they leave, when they get there. And why is my camera? But there we go. So you can do that at some point in the class, and it's easier. Then I go back later and just check off in my book who was there. Also, use the chat to get suggestions from kids. Keep the volume down, keep the chaos down a little bit, depending on how big your class is. You know, if you're asking for suggestions for doing something in class, or for creating a story, or whatever it is that you're doing, have them type their suggestions there. Use the chat to get feedback from kids. Like, I love to do picture talks, and I want to ask them opinions about what they see and what their impressions are, and I want them to type it in the chat. Now, a good way so that the kids aren't feeding off of each other's answers or taking each other's answers. This is a great clue from Diane Neubauer. You put your hand at the top of the screen, and you know, after you've given them some time to type their answers, you say, now don't hit enter until my hand hits the bottom of the screen, and then everybody kind of hits enter at the same time. So everybody's answers pop out at the same time. Otherwise, you know, kids are going to copy each other's sentences, yada, yada, yada. Use breakout rooms. Breakout rooms are great. I'm going to share my screen just so that you can see. Where is it? Okay, so the breakout room is, of course, not on that image. That would be too easy. It is, let me find my breakout screen. Okay. Hold on. I'm gonna stop and get the correct one open. Here it is. Okay, so I'm gonna share that screen with you, and this will give you a better picture of, there we go. Okay, so breakout rooms right here. Breakout room, great way to build community among small groups, to do activities, to do different kinds of brain breaks, to create teams that have to work together to complete tasks. You can set the breakout rooms for certain periods of time. You can assign the breakout rooms, or you can have them be random. You can always shuffle kids. If you do random and you don't like the way that they've kind of come out, you can always finagle that. You can go into the breakout rooms individually to see how they are doing. Just keep in mind that when you use the breakout rooms, they can't see the chat that's in the main room, and they can't see any images that you're showing in the main room. So that's something to keep in mind. Now, here's another one. On the 3 dots, on the little squares, when you have the kids in the grids in your classroom, super cool. And kids are so self-conscious. Some kids really do not want to show their faces, or, you know, or maybe not, they don't even want to show their home or whatever, you know, who knows why. But a lot of kids are self-conscious. And it's easier for them not to see themselves. Sometimes if they're not seeing themselves, they're more comfortable. So you can turn off self-view. The way to do this, in each little grid, a kid can click on the top 3, the little 3 dots, and the bottom choice is turn off self-view. And all that does is it makes it so that the student or the participant does not see themselves in the grid. And there, boom. Sometimes that's enough, and it's easier for kids. The other thing I suggest that you do is teach them how to do their own backgrounds. Have a fun team building activity where they search for backgrounds. Disney has made all of their backgrounds free. There are so many free backgrounds that people have made available for use with Zoom. Such a fun thing. Have kids get a whole bunch of backgrounds that they save, and they can switch between. Sometimes just having this back here, you guys can't see what's in my house. You know, you don't know if it's a pigsty back there. It could quite possibly be that. You never know. And this gives you a little more privacy, so that people aren't seeing everything. I suggest that you turn, I won't be able to show you this right now, but set up a whiteboard directly to the right or left of your green screen. This is if you're using a green screen. It's really not going to work out well if you don't use a green screen. So if you actually use a physical green screen, set up a whiteboard to the right or to the left of the screen. Now, if I need to use the whiteboard and I'm still using a background, now if I'm using words and I'm pointing and I need kids to see vocabulary that I'm using, but I want to point to the words, then I can just rotate my monitor towards that whiteboard. The background will disappear and my whiteboard will be visible. And then when I'm done with my whiteboard, I can just swivel my camera or my monitor right back to facing forward towards me, and I'm back into my green screen. Again, only really effective if you are using a physical green screen, because watch, if I turn my monitor, it just stays with my background. It won't go away that way. But if I have a physical background, it only catches this image when the green screen is behind it. All right, so that's one thing. Last one, don't forget to use brain breaks. We get exhausted quickly with camera time, with screen time, any of this stuff. It's exhausting on the eyes, on everything. Brain breaks. Simon Says, I mean, something simple as like a brain burst, like stand up, sit down, stand up, jump around, jump 5 times, stand up, run in your house and find something red, bring it back, and then have everybody compare them. Another great one is having kids play with perspective. Whatever you picked up, whatever object you brought back, make it really big in the camera and have them play with perspective. Make it really small, and you can do that with hands. Again, you can see the downside to not having a physical green screen because I disappear when I do it. You can do heads or tails, flip a coin, heads, tails. You can do high or low with a card. This is a fun game, takes a little bit longer, but not too long. You show the card and the students have to say, is the next card gonna be higher or lower? And if they're right, they stay in the game, and if they're wrong, they're out. And this one, I have students at brain breaks, they need to be standing because that's the point of this, to get them up and moving so that they're like, so have them stand up or sit down when they're done. So many different quick activities that you can do, scavenger hunts and things like that. You can do little games in breakout rooms too. So don't forget that a lot of what you do in your classroom works. And we need to interact. We need to build relationships. So we're going to go really slow these first few weeks, and having this kind of interaction with not so much screen sharing, but like physically being here where they're right there with you is going to make that better. It's going to be easier to connect with them. So I hope that some of these things that I've shared will be useful for you. And if you have questions, please reach out to me, zonadeprofes@gmail.com. All right, I'm DMS Spanish on YouTube, on DMS Spanish on Instagram, and I'm DMS Spanish on Twitter. Have a great day.